I
Okay,
can, yeah.
perfect. So, I know this is not comfortable, but I'm going to go ahead and turn my video off. But hello, it's so good to see you. I'm going to turn that off so that it's a clear recording. Okay, how's it going?
Going good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. This feels really weird to be doing this again, so thank you. You're honestly my first one for this series.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
I'm excited that you're bringing it back. I was telling Peter, my husband, because I used to watch your show all the time and I loved it. And
Oh my
so,
gosh.
I was like, this is so fun.
So, Sarah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and condense this down into 15 minutes and keep it short and sweet and do a little bit less editing than I probably feel like I should. Um, I want to keep it very conversational. That's why I didn't break it down into questions this time. I was watching my old YFE videos, and that really bugged me how I used to do the questions. All right, so Sarah, let's talk about what your business is. Let's like take it right back to the nuts and bolts, the name, tagline, where you operate out of, and what it is that you do.
Okay, sure. So I am a healthy lifestyle coach over at theseasonaldiet.com, where I work with my husband, Peter. And what we do is we help mostly women. There are a few brave men. We do some couples coaching, and we help them increase the amount of in season produce they're eating. So, produce that's growing where they live, not where we live, but where they live. And do that so they can lose weight, increase their energy, improve their skin, kind of reach their health goals by using more plants and eat in season plants at that. And so we work, I mean, out of our home. It's an online business, and we work with people all over the world, a lot in the US, but we do have some clients in the UK and in Australia. So how we work with them is usually like one-on-one, like so it'd be like this. We use Zoom a lot, and then we also do like programs and packages where they can kind of go at their own pace too.
And how do you sell them? So does someone go onto your website and they can see either the option of one to one or group coaching? Do you do any type of like launches where you launch a program out and someone can take it for 90 days, or is this an ongoing thing?
It really depends. So when we first started our business, and I mean, the seasonal diet is definitely an evolution of lots of different businesses along the way. And so when we first started, we would do very structured launches where it would be like, this is the program, this is the launch period, this is when it's available. And we found that we weren't very successful at that. That just was not really working for us. And so now we do a lot of ongoing stuff. We do like currently we're actually doing like an open cart and a closed cart, but we kind of do more so ongoing stuff. You can go to our website and fill out a form to work with us and learn more, but um, usually it has to come from me like putting out an offer to say our Facebook group or our email list, and seeing if that's a good fit for you. I don't know, does that make sense? It's kind of like it's not a lot of structured launches, but there are some thrown in too.
No, that makes total sense. And so when you do the one-on-one clients, are they also doing your group? Is that an upgrade that they get into, or are those two separate things?
So we have a free group, who pretty much a large percentage of our clients come from our free Facebook group. So we have that, and that's free. Anybody can join. But then we also have a mastermind group, which is a paid group. You have to pay a monthly fee to be in it, where we do weekly trainings. So on different things, like if someone wants to cut out dairy, or they want to create a morning routine or eat more plants or something like that, we would do a live training on that. And then we also do live cooking demonstrations in there too. So we do weekly recipe demos. And so that's a paid group. And what we just recently started doing is you can pay to join that group, or if you're a client, then you get access to that group during your time working with us.
And how did this idea come about? I mean, because the seasonal diet, I feel like is pretty unique in the way that you've not necessarily health coaching. Health coaching I see all over the place, but the fact that you've taken it into the seasonal aspect where you're looking at local foods to me is unique. I haven't seen too much of that where it's specifically targeting that. So, where did that idea come from? You said it branched out from a number of different businesses.
Yeah, definitely. So, Peter and I, my husband, we're originally from Edmonds, Washington.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
we're originally from Edmonds, Washington. We went to the University of Washington in Seattle.
Yay.
Yeah, and so that's where we're from. And Seattle is very into local and supporting local farmers and stuff like that. But it doesn't have this long growing season like San Diego has. And so when Peter and I first moved down here, it was probably going on 5 years now. I was obsessed with the farmers markets. I couldn't believe that you could go to a farmers market in the winter and you wouldn't get rained on, right? And they would have so many options. And so I became really into going to the farmers markets and talking about them. And when we were living here, we had like new friends. We were meeting new friends, and I would always bring it up. I'd always be like, "Oh my gosh, don't you love the farmers market? Have you been? There's one right by you every Tuesday. Do you go to that?" And they're just like, "Oh, we don't really go that often. Like sometimes we'll go on a Sunday and we'll get some berries, but it's more kind of like just like a leisurely occasion, something fun." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, nobody is going to the farmers markets down here. This is a big problem because." The produce of the farmers market is a lot fresher, which you probably know, Jen. And we were seeing that when we were eating the produce from the farmers market, we felt a lot better. Not only did it taste better, it was more flavorful, our recipes tasted better, but we had more energy. And so I was like, okay, we need to get more people eating local produce. And so that's kind of how it came about. I mean, that's kind of like the condensed version, but definitely just seeing all of the produce and people not taking advantage of it. I was like, okay, we need to get more people to the farmers market, get them growing their own food, get them to join a CSA, whatever it's going to take. There are a lot of options, but people really, I think, don't know about them, or they find it's a little bit hard to incorporate. So let's try and see how it goes. And it's been going good. It's been going really well. And farmers markets, I feel like, are taking off too. So it's becoming more popular, like as time goes on.
And what were you doing when you had this idea?
Like as in like what were we doing for like
for a living?
yeah, so when we moved to San Diego, we had a nonprofit, and so we were working with kids and getting them to eat more nutritious foods, getting them to cook with vegetables. We were doing cooking classes and things like that. And what happened was, Peter and I, we had like our own health issues, and that's kind of what got us started eating healthy. And so we had our issues. We were like, okay, we want to help kids. We want to get them eating healthy sooner. And so we started doing these cooking classes. And what happened was the kids were really loving it. And then the parents were saying, oh my gosh, Sarah, my daughter said that you made zucchini noodles. Like, how can I do that at home? Like, she hates zucchini. And so we were like, oh man, like, we can only have so much of an impact with these kids if then they go home and their parents are struggling, And so then we started doing stuff with the parents. And that's when, they were asking like, well, where do you shop? What do you do? And we're like, farmers market, CSA, you can get it delivered to your house. Like, you can grow your own. And so that's what I was doing at the time. I was teaching full time, these kids classes and then in-home cooking classes. And then Peter was doing, part-time, like half and half between the two.
So then what made you actually start the idea? Because it sounds like, I mean, beyond the parents asking you, why didn't you just fold it into the current nonprofit that you were doing? What was the impetus that was just like, okay, let's start this other thing?
Yeah, definitely. So to be 100% honest, Peter and I were both feeling extremely burnt out. Teaching kids, we thought, it was going to be a lot easier than it was. And it was definitely just at the end of the day, we were feeling extremely exhausted. So we were like, this is not sustainable. We cannot do this full time. We definitely didn't have the budget. And so we kind of felt like there were better organizations that were doing similar things that could do a better job than we could, right? We could help them. We could volunteer there. But on our own, it was like too much. And we both were just feeling like pulled that way. And that's kind of how our journey has been. It's kind of been like try something, see if it works, see if our heart is in it, see if, at the end of the day, we can stick with it, we can keep doing it. And then if not, then, see what comes next. And so, we just kind of felt like what we were currently doing, it wasn't 100% what we wanted to be doing. And that's kind of why we got into starting a business, was because what we were currently doing in our corporate jobs, it wasn't fulfilling us. And so when we started a business, we said, no matter what, like, we want to be fulfilled 100% of the time. And so that's kind of what was like, okay, let's try this. Let's do the seasonal diet and just see what happens. And it kind of stuck. So.
And how long did it take from you to go from the idea stage into actual implementation?
So one thing about me is I'm pretty quick. So as soon as I have an idea, it's kind of like, okay, let's do this. And so I and that's not to say that it works pretty quickly, because the time that it starts to work is usually pretty long. But I would say, we it's hard to say, because the longer we go, looking back, it's like, how long was that? But if I'm being honest, pretty quickly, like, we were still doing stuff with kids and with parents. And then I was like, okay, we need to get to the farmers market and get people to learn about our business. So I was calling, while we were still in our other thing, I was calling farmers markets and farms and saying, like, hey, can we come out? Can we work at your booth? Can we get some experience? Can we promote our business? So not long. Like, I wish I could say a time frame, but pretty quickly, I would say.
So what were some of the things that led to the success of the seasonal diet, and how you transitioned then? I mean, going to the booths, that sounds interesting. So you just called people up and said, hey, can I come, like a cold call type of a thing,
Yeah.
to farmers, and they were okay with that?
Yeah, definitely. So with the nonprofit, kind of how we got that going was by cold calling. I was calling principals up, and that was so scary for me. I remember just being so scared to make the call and not sure how they were going to take it. But I knew that, I had to talk to them and just tell them my idea and see if it was even something that they were interested in, and what they thought of the idea. And, email is probably easier, not as scary, but with the principals, like, I really wanted to talk to them, and I knew they were busy, and I wanted to make sure it got to them. And so I was calling them. And so that really helped me when I went to the farmers, and getting in touch with them. And so a lot of them didn't respond. They weren't sure, because technically, like, what I was proposing was, hey, I want to teach people how to use your produce. Like, can I come out? I'll promote your produce, but I'll also be promoting my business and using that to help people eat more of this, show them, that it's not so scary, that they can make a list, that they can come out here and get their produce, and the benefits of it. And most people didn't respond. But all you really need is one, right? Like, you need one person to say, like, yeah, you can do it. And then you get out there, and then other people see you, and they're like, okay, like, I like this. This is a good idea. And so one farm was like, yeah, we would love that. We need help with marketing. We need help with this. And so I probably went out to the farmers markets for like 9 months and was just like promoting our business in person, not getting paid, just kind of like using the produce. I would buy like some of my own stuff and equipment and just show people how to use what's growing in their neighborhood.
Oh, that is so cool. Now, as far as,
Yes.
I mean, that was obviously a success, or one of the things. If it didn't bring you customers, it's just got to feel good to be testing out and hearing people's responses. I mean, that must have felt good.
Yeah, I think one thing that I really like is just showing people how doable it is to actually cook with these vegetables that you've never seen before, and make food that actually tastes good and makes you feel good. And so, yeah, exactly. Even though I wasn't getting paid, it was so fun just to interact with people. And like, I'm such a foodie and a nerd, and could geek out over squash and, any vegetable I'm excited about. And so, seeing other people get excited about something you're excited about, it's just fun. And so, it really didn't feel like work. And that was one thing that when I was like, okay, if we're going to start a business, I want it to be fun. I want to enjoy it. I want it to be something that I can do forever. And so that was definitely something that was like, okay, this is really fun, and I really like this, and it doesn't feel like work. We got to figure out how to make money with it eventually, right? But right now, this feels pretty good. So
So
yeah.
what does your day-to-day look like as far as, I mean, you're saying that you want everything to be fun, which I think that seems to be the common denominator when I talk to people who are successful, is that what they're doing, they enjoy and they would do it whether they were paid or not. So what does, I mean, there's got to be unfavorable parts of every business, but
Totally.
what does your day look like?
Yeah. So for me, like, I usually work in the middle part of my day. So because I am a health coach and a healthy lifestyle coach, it's really important for me to have that healthy lifestyle too. So the mornings, like I get up. I was going to say early, but I've heard people get up way earlier than me. So I usually get up around 6 or 6:30, and then kind of don't start work emails, calls until 8:30, and then usually from 8:30 to 4:30, I'll do like one-on-one calls. I try to chunk them together. So Thursdays and Tuesdays, I do a lot of one-on-one calls. And then a lot of emails, program creation. It's really all over the place in terms of what I do. But then at 4:30, I take a break. And then Peter, my husband, and I, we work on stuff from 5 to 7 every night. Like it's kind of like our power session where we're planning and putting things in place, making sure that he knows what he's working on. I know what I'm working on. And if we need to work together on something, then that's when we're working together on those things. Sometimes we'll do on Thursday nights, we do couples coaching where we coach together for 2 hours with
Cool.
another couple.
Very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of a bunch of different things. And in terms of unfavorable things, I think one thing that I definitely don't enjoy is kind of like the scheduling, like the admin work. That's something that I'm like, oh, can I just get to the fun stuff? Rescheduling appointments and putting people on my calendar and doing stuff like that. I'm like, oh, this is so boring. But like you said, it has to be done.
Yeah. And then as far as mistakes go, if someone was in a similar, let's say specifically health coaching or any type of coaching where you're speaking directly to one-on-one to people, are there any mistakes around client relations? Say, I mean, that one specifically that you had to deal with. I mean, that's probably a big jump going from working with principals and organizations and working with kids into more adult relationships, working one-on-one.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. Um, for that, I would say definitely boundaries. Creating boundaries because when you're working with people, with clients, right, and they're working on health and you really enjoy it. If a health coach is watching this, it can be hard to set boundaries, and you can always be working. And definitely that's been hard for me, is just setting those boundaries where it's like you're available, you can send me messages, but I'm not going to respond, after hours, and really setting those clear boundaries and not, taking your work with you when you go on vacation and doing these things. Because with the kind of coaching I do, stuff is always coming up. There's always a product somebody's trying, or a vacation, or they're at the grocery store and they don't know what to buy, or they're here. And so it's like, Sarah, are you around? Are you around? And just be a lot. So I think just setting some clear boundaries and just saying like, hey, I'm only going to work until 5 p.m. After that, I'll get back to you the next day. Something like that, I would say.
And do you have any advice for because that's got to feel intimidating, or how is that person going to respond if I set those boundaries after 5 o'clock? Are they going to leave me? That kind of a thing. Do you have advice for someone to give them the courage or the I don't know, just that it's okay to set those boundaries? Some type of motivation for them.
Yeah, I would say just let your clients know, let the people that you want to show up your best for them. I'm not going to be able to show up my best if I'm taking messages all throughout the night, right? I'm not going to show up for our calls energized and ready to help you get the best results you can. And so by me setting those boundaries, then I'm able to take care of myself just like I want you to take care of yourself. And a lot of times, my clients are going through the same thing. Like they need help setting boundaries with, their work, their spouse. And so by me kind of setting the example, then it's easier for them. And I would say, like, if you're a health coach, saying the same thing, for your clients, and usually the people that you want to work with, like they respect that. They respect you. And I haven't had any issues with that. I feel like most of the women are probably, I would say, like inspired by that to do the same thing. So I always say just be yourself and you'll attract the right people. If you're coming from a place of love and support, like people are going to respond well to that.
I love that. So true. So Sarah, where can people find you after this?
So they can find me at theseasonaldiet.com. That's my website. You can find all the info, recipes, lots of fun stuff. Or, like I said, I really like Facebook. We have a Facebook group. It's called the Seasonal Diet Lifestylers. Um, and I hang out there. And I'm also on Instagram, lots of places, but our website kind of has all of that. So if you go to our website, you can find all of our social platforms.
Awesome. All right, Sarah. Thank you so much for doing this with me today.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having
Oh,
me.
yeah, definitely.